This week, after a series of domino effects across other channels, the main account of BestGuyEver was unambiguously, one might even say blatantly, wrongfully terminated. TLDR? Follow the link below and politely retweet the post at Team YouTube, but also watch the video. Otherwise, nobody's gonna see this to begin with, and my attempt to amplify the signal will be in vain. May the algorithm be with me. Anyway, in case you don't know who BestGuyEver is, he's a fellow anime YouTuber who also covers video games primarily. Probably most famous for defying stereotypes in Oshiete Gauko-chan, the One Piece, Kingdom Hearts, and Final Fantasy 101 lectures, Best Anime Ever Gurren Lagann, and many other videos consisting of both inspirational, analytically minded video essays, as well as absolutely chaotic shitposts. To quote the bestie boy himself, on February 26th, "Last night, BestGuyEver, the YouTube channel I've cultivated for 9 years, was terminated, with all others I own. Immediate action must be taken to reverse this chain of events. I still await at Team YouTube's answer. Please at them with this message. Let them know this matters to you." End quote. Now obviously the unfortunate reality is that this sort of thing happens all the time, often because of simple machine error and a lack of real manpower. For example, just about 2 months ago, Sycra Yasin was terminated after nearly 2 decades in good standing for a trademark infringement carried out by what were very obviously hackers accessing his account. Sycra initially received no clear recourse, with the typical auto-generated responses, and if I remember correctly, pretty unironic assurance that nothing could be done about a trademark issue.
As he tried to get it back, they were just told that since it was a trademark claim and not a copyright claim, any further attempts to basically regain control of the channel have been lost to him. He filed an appeal. The appeal was denied for whatever reason. I think it's all automated.
But after a month of pressure from cynics and many others in the art community, as well as a month's worth of work on Sycra and his wife Flavia's part, the channel was just barely saved, with 2 decades worth of invaluable art resources nearly lost. It took a month, and that's a channel with nearly 800,000 subscribers.
He was told that if he had over 1 million subscribers, he could have a personal handler that would take care of it, but since his channel doesn't make enough revenue, since it's not big enough, and it's funny how that margin keeps going higher and higher. I remember when it was like, oh yeah, you won't get any personal feedback from stuff like this if you have less than 100,000 subscribers. Now it's if you have less than 1 million subscribers, you don't get it. Because once again, you know, as Google chugs along and YouTube chugs along, it becomes more about how can we cut corners? And obviously they've laid off tons of people that really dealt with this type of stuff, this kind of user interactions. They keep cutting back on these people and just keep being like, well, we really can get away with just focusing on maybe people that have more and more higher revenue sources, bigger channels, and a lot of the smaller channels, you know, will just kind of get left behind. That's terrifying because most of the channels I watch, just in my own enjoyment of YouTube stuff, I would say 90% of them, if not way higher than that, have less than 1 million subscribers. Most of them have less than 100,000 subscribers, and these are the villains I watch. And it's shocking to know that, you know, if one of them manages to get hijacked, these people don't have any real recourse, you know? There's not much you can do unless you're big enough. Legacy doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you've been there for, you know, 18 years since the start of YouTube. It's just kind of forgotten, like, thank you for the help, now get out of our way, we got other stuff to deal with.
Watching that unfold was painful enough. Sycra has influenced me not only through my love of doodling, but in how I think about efficiently working on and improving my art and workflow in general. But I'll admit, it stings in a somewhat different way when it's a figure within your own niche. A figure who has worked for nearly a decade not only creating some of the best, most underrated content within that niche, but directly influencing the way you create and edit your own videos. Perhaps most importantly, a figure whose entire account was terminated over conflicting responses to a batch of copyright strike disputes, not on the main channel, but on a connected channel which hosted content that looked like this. Yes, this is the sort of content that the connected One Piece channel, Talking Pirates, was ultimately stricken down because of, and the reason that the bestie boy is currently banned on YouTube, not just as a channel, but account-wide.
7 of them were allowed to be contested when I went through the process, 5 weren't. Don't know why.
I think it's all automated.
And those 5 eventually led to the taking down of Talking Pirates. And then for, you know, whatever mechanism they have, they deduced that all my other channels are linked to Talking Pirates, and thus they all were taken down as well.
Now, I want to make it clear that I do not speak for BGE, and he's handled this probably a lot better than I would have. I don't know what all of his conversations with YouTube look like. I don't know what the status of things will be by the time I publish this video, and I'm not trying to create some definitive breakdown of events. You should look through his Twitter posts, listen to the newest episodes of Talking Pirates, or find your way over to his Discord if you want to hear more details and hear them from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, in case you guys don't know, like, my channels are, like, kind of fucked on YouTube, and there's a distinct possibility that, like, my YouTube presence is gonna get nuked. All right, check it out. Because the original Talking Pirates went down, how this affects your channel. We have permanently terminated your channel from YouTube. Okay, got that. Going forward, you won't be able to access, possess, or create any other YouTube channels unless the linked channel is reinstated. And by this token, Bestie Boy and Best Guy Ever live streams, channels that have nothing to do with Talking Pirates, also got nuked. And I see no reason why Best Guy Ever, the main channel, wouldn't also get nuked by that same token. Why hasn't my main channel been nuked yet? I have no idea.
1 week later.
And then on like Saturday or whatever, as you can see here, click on Best Guy Ever YouTube, right here. Yeah, my Best Guy Ever channel was deleted as a result of being connected to Talking Pirates. I've talked to YouTube support for a couple of days. The answers that I get are fairly circular. When I talk to YouTube support and I'm like, hey, my channel Best Guy Ever here, it was taken down due to association with this channel. I, 1, don't think that makes sense, and 2, don't think that that original channel should have gone down. The line I keep getting is,
we're sorry.
The channel going down is in accordance with YouTube's policies. And so, I mean, this is what they tell me. There's no point. Like, we will not be reevaluating that decision. This is what happens when you have an association with a channel that's taken down for copyright. You will need to discuss the original channel takedown, and that's your avenue of approach. And then I do that. I've repeatedly asked, and I am told that, you know, the 5 strikes and the associated claims with that are appropriate takedowns, and you do not have the legal right to this content. Again, I can't verify how much of a review they've done there, but that's what they say. And so they're just following orders, basically. They are following the policy. There appears to be no willingness to reevaluate it. Like, totally not Mark. When his channel went down, he got claimed by like 1 million claims from Shueisha, right? And then eventually, the way that I heard through the grapevine that they worked it out was that eventually his channel was given sort of special dispensation.
I think we need to go deeper.
Without Toei willing to budge on the matter, if they were to file a lawsuit in Japan, then in a Japanese court, it's possible I would have little chance due to the very narrow application of their version of fair use. And this is where YouTube did something they have never done before. A move that has added a brand new step in their copyright policy or protocol. And while this is a policy YouTube uses in other legal removal areas, it's the very first time they're applying it to copyright. Okay, so a legal copyright removal has to consider fair use or other copyright exceptions, right? My videos are delivered in English and clearly are targeted to those in the Western world, and so YouTube removed the videos in Japan because, given their limited application of copyright exceptions, Toei might see this as infringing in Japan. However, YouTube felt that the videos could reasonably qualify for a fair use exemption in most of the rest of the world, so the content will remain up everywhere else until or unless Toei can make an argument that it would not qualify for copyright exemption in other territories. In short, since Japan isn't a demographic I even attempt to target and didn't have the capability of abstaining from uploading to in the past, YouTube has elected to block my videos in Japan so that if they wish to block those videos in the future, they will have to do so in a country outside of Japanese law, thus giving me what I believe to be a fair chance. And well, that's where we are now.
I want the technology, I want the medicine, I want the innovations, I want them now.
If I could get set up, if like Talking Pirates could get that same dispensation, that might solve the problem, but is anyone willing to do that for a 2,000 subscriber channel like Talking Pirates? Do I have the pull to make something like that happen? I don't know. Probably not. And again, no one will engage with me on like, hey, a pretty sizable channel here has gone down. Anything we can do about that? Again, there's nothing wrong with the main channel other than it's linked to a channel that went down. The only place that I see any theoretical flexibility is on those strikes on the Talking Pirates channel. And I think that it is totally fair for them to exist on YouTube, and I would defend that policy. The problem is that's a legal defense, and I don't really think YouTube is engaged in, at this level, meaningful discussion about that. I do want to apologize to everybody for my foolishness on this issue, for thinking that this couldn't happen. You guys don't have the content that, you've enjoyed in the past, and I'm sorry about that. What's the likelihood you'll get at least BestGuyEver back? I mean, I couldn't tell you the answer to that. I don't know.
I'm just a big fan of his work, who's loosely followed the situation since he was initially forced to blur the chapters, and has had many variations of this rant in him for a while now anyways. I'd feel annoyed with myself if I didn't do something when the situation is currently pointed at one of my favorite creators in my own niche. And yes, I am making this video out of pure self-interest, because I want to continue watching these videos on their original home here on YouTube. I should also make it clear that I am indeed thankful for the opportunities provided here, and sympathetic to this impossible problem existing at an impossible scale here on YouTube. But I have to admit that I'm also more than a bit peeved, and one has to ask, how far does this go? Should I rest easy knowing things will at least mostly work themselves out over the next month or so? Or is BGE technically even allowed on the platform with this false issue currently outstanding? The rules are so vague, convoluted, and ever-changing that I don't even know anymore.
In case that wasn't clear, they say, going forward, you won't be able to access, possess, or create any other YouTube channels. I want to reach out to support and ask, is this like permanent forever because of a copyright violation? See, that's the other thing. If it was just that BestGuyEver went down and I needed to make a new channel, honestly, I might be able to bounce back from that without too much angst, agita, as my man Tony Soprano would say, but I am banned from making YouTube channels.
Will this eventually spread to other co-partnered channels? Should I be rushing to archive hundreds of my favorite videos across multiple channels right now? All because one manga review podcast side channel got picked up by a bot who unironically recognized and claimed footage which is literally blurred beyond any real human's ability to recognize it? I mean, obviously things shouldn't work that way. I don't think that they work that way in most cases, but I don't know. I mean, here we are in this absurd situation already. It's not like any of this is predictable or even consistent. Well, the application of the rules is consistently inconsistent and the responses to issues are predictably unreliable, but other than that, if you're small enough, maybe you get terminated over AI-generated false strikes in the dead of the night. You never receive any semblance of a human response and no one ever even notices your absence. If you're large enough and lucrative enough, maybe you get away with what would typically result in a community guidelines permaban, with a slap on the wrist and a PR statement from YouTube's Twitter account instead. By the way, how many no longer relevant legacy videos and creators will this retroactively affect? How many have already been lost without us noticing? How often do you look into one of your YouTube playlists and once again read the message, unavailable videos are hidden? I can think of more than a few of my favorite videos that are just gone today, unnoticed in the sea of content.
If you're wondering why not just use Gig Studio, Gig Studio is a channel. It's not just the algorithm, it's mostly the amount of content ID claims that the channel gets, because the rules of content ID are always changing, and every time they change, it rescans my whole library of videos and something new gets blocked. The channel is so volatile, it really is not a safe permanent home for my YouTube content.
Either way, it's not like you'll see it coming if and when it does happen to one of your favorite creators. It's not like the rules or their enforcement make sense to begin with, and because AdSense accounts work the way they do, if you do want to monetize a channel, it has to be connected on some level to the primary account.
Were they under the same Google name? Good question. The answer is no. After the scare last time with BestGuyEver live streams where I was posting them, I made a separate Google account and a separate YouTube channel for Talking Pirates, specifically to avoid what's happening right now, and it didn't work, obviously, okay? They just determined that me, Nate Bestman, are like not to be allowed on there.
And this is all to say nothing of the fact that so many of his peers get away with actually showing the same chapters uncensored that he completely obscured and still had his account nuked over. In case this all sounds preposterous, let me assure you that I've not only watched most of these videos, I've also had the same issue with background footage myself. Footage which was buried under animated text documents, dimmed, and blurred beyond recognition. That's just how effective the bots have become. I have simply been lucky enough, so far, to receive claims instead of strikes. I've also spent much of the past month repeatedly editing and re-uploading my most recent video after my dispute to Pony Canyon was rejected, getting further and further behind on other projects, and finding it more and more difficult to pivot when I've needed to. I don't want to put off or give up on a 30-minute long fully edited video, which is becoming less and less relevant by the day. But every time I think it's in the clear, it gets rescanned again days later and the bots find yet another completely different part of the video to claim. The entire video is blocked globally once again, over a few seconds of claimed footage. Of course, it's always just a single part. It's not like they give me any idea what's gonna flag it next, even after waiting days at a time to receive a sign.
実社会と同じだ。人事効果。詳細な査定の内容は教えられない。
As I said, I submitted a dispute at one point. It looked like this. You can pause it if you want to read it, but I thought that it was as reasonable as it could be. And it was rejected, without a real response. What, did you think the system was going to become more lax, reasonable, and helpful over time?
I have altered the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Perhaps the most frustrating thing about this is, it feels like our job on this front is no longer really to create transformative content, to avoid infringing copyright, and to avoid subverting the market value of the original work being commented on.
Frankly, I've been thinking for years that I needed to back things up, but then I thought, well, I mean, I'm not really at risk, right? I operate within YouTube's rules.
It's to know the rules ahead of time, to know what will trigger the random bot scans, don't do whatever that is, and of course be lucky, be in the good graces of YouTube, or just create enough of a fuss to actually get things looked at by a real person. This pattern leaves me and many other creators feeling insecure about our own place on the platform. It's difficult to get as motivated to actually hit publish on something when the rules are ambiguous, convoluted, constantly changing, and enforced unevenly. When you have to painstakingly check and recheck edits because you know that your entire library of content is being scanned and rescanned day and night by bots that pick up things that humans can't even pick up, that don't enforce the rules evenly and don't understand fair use. When you're submitting claims to be reviewed by more bots that don't understand fair use, receiving responses to disputes from yet more bots that don't understand fair use. And if you don't have 1 million subscribers, that's pretty much going to be your experience. That's not even to get into how often the bots pick up songs that aren't there at all. How easy it can be for people to claim things that don't even belong to them. Or God forbid what it must be like to get claimed for a remix of your own song. Once again, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I'm not thankful for the platform existing, nor am I unsympathetic to the impossible problem that this more than likely is. I don't know that I have a magical solution which would work at scale to fix the problem, but I do know this. The current system is broken in a way which makes creating good content, balancing projects, and pivoting when you need to more and more difficult, with ever more diminishing returns on legitimate protection of copyrighted materials. What we need are more human eyes on the problem, not ever more sophisticated AI scans working day and night to protect companies, often from work that in absolutely no way replaces the need to consume theirs, while those just lucky enough continue getting away with the same actions or even far worse transgressions on edits, clip channels, reaction videos, and the like. Long and short, automated claims and reviews simply do not work. Once again, I don't have a magical solution that will work at scale, but I'm also not willing to accept that sometimes people just get punished for no real wrongdoing. I'm not willing to accept guilty until proven innocent if lucky or lucrative enough. I can almost hear a message coming through the ether. It's on the tip of my tongue and I think YouTube may need to hear it.
Personal responsibility.
Alas, now is not the time to raise the pitchforks. Now is the time to act with urgency and care. Please, if you do have a Twitter account, go to BGE's page at BestGuyEver and comment or retweet it at Team YouTube. Show the same courteous professionalism that he has shown and continue amplifying the signal until we get results, with an effective message, not just an angry one. Let's get some human eyes on the channel, and maybe, just maybe, we can one day bear witness to another episode of Best Anime Ever, maybe even Worst Anime Ever, on the original channel. A man can dream. Come on, man, he just started releasing videos again.
I saw, who was that crazy? Somebody who was saying like they really liked the Final Fantasy lecture. Yeah, it's pretty good, right?